In this lesson, we will connect our FK leg controls to the FK system. Before we go ahead and connect our leg controls, let's go ahead and take a quick look at how our FK systems react when we rotate them. So I'll go ahead and grab the FK thigh on the right and left sides. From there, we'll grab our rotate gizmo and let's start to rotate again, making sure we're in gimbal mode. We'll rotate in the y-axis. So you can see we get this mirrored effect. And at times this is easier on the animator to read animation in the curve editor. So when it's time to do a little bit of clean work, they have an idea of the direction the legs are moving in. So this is really just a preference thing. It's not required at all. But I'll go ahead and show you how to set up this functionality. So since our leg bones are already set up to be mirrorable, it'd be nice to link our controls some way to the system so that they also have that type of behavior. Now we cannot just go ahead and link our controls to these bone objects because we want our controls to control these very bones. So instead what we could do is go ahead and clone these bone objects and create yet another system that we will use to link our controls tool. And then once this is all said and done, once we go ahead and clean up our controls, we'll have them match to the same orientation that we see here. So since we have the FK thigh selected, let's go in and grab our shins. So we'll just go ahead and control click the FK shin on the left and right sides. Now we can clone these objects. We'll press Ctrl V, we'll clone them as copies. And let's go ahead and shrink their size so they're a lot easier to work with. So we can head over to our script editor. That's going to be $.width. We'll have that equal to 1, something small enough where we can quickly get to that bone. We'll hit enter, and we'll go ahead and set the height to the same. So that's height, we'll have that equal to 1. Alright, beautiful. Now we'll want to go in and rename these objects. So since our controls will be tied to these new bones, let's go ahead and add anim right after BNDRV. So it's going to be BNDRV underscore anim, and then we'll want to get rid of that 02 at the end. So our suffix is FK01. Let's do the same thing for the other bone objects. I'll pause the video. Alright, so now that each bone has been renamed, we're now ready to take our animation controls and link to these new bone objects. So I'll go ahead and start with the left thigh control. We'll just go ahead and link right to the new FK bone. If it helps, we can always go ahead and hide our character. Alright, so I'll go ahead and link to that object. Let's do the same thing for the shin. We'll have that linked. Remember, we can press page up to make sure we link to the correct object. Let's do the same thing on the right side. Great. Alright, so we just have one more control here to link. And then we'll want to take our ankle controls and have those linked to our shin controls. Alright, beautiful. So now that that's done, the next thing we're going to want to do is take our new shin bone and make sure that's linked to the original FK thigh. We're going to be orientation constraining the FK bone objects, and we want to go ahead and drive that thigh bone, but the problem is we need a way for this shin to follow. So in order for that to happen, we just need to take our new shin bone and make sure it's going to follow the thigh bone that's going to be driven. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Now another way we can link is to work with the schematic view. So it might be easier to link that way because it's kind of tough to get to a few of these bone objects. So I'll head over to Graph Editors and create a new schematic view. From there, with the FK shin bone selected, we'll go ahead and press the Z key to find it. Let's go ahead and increase our view, and there it is. Beautiful. So now we just need to go in and find the thigh bone that we would like to link to. So let's go ahead and make sure that we're using our select tool in the schematic view. And if we were to go ahead and kind of pan, just using the middle mouse button, we'll find that thigh bone here. Another way to access it, of course, is to just go in from the viewport and select it, and then you can go ahead and use the Z key to zoom into that node. Alright, so we have the node that we would like to link to. Let's go ahead and grab our connect tool, and we'll connect from the new FK shin right into our original FK thigh. Alright, beautiful. So once that has been connected, we'll want to do the same thing on the right side. Alright, so we could always go in and select the FK thigh that we'll need to link to. I'll go ahead and grab the select tool, just press the Q key and select that bone object. From there, we'll press the Z key inside of the schematic view. Alright, so once we find that, we should be able to find the FK shin a lot faster. So there it is. We'll go ahead and grab our connect tool and connect. Alright, great. So now that that's taken care of, we can now go ahead and close out of the schematic view. I'll just go ahead and select the new shin bones here, and with them both selected, we could always go ahead and right click and choose Freeze Transforms. Alright, great. So it's now just a matter of making sure we just go in and reset the X form on our animation controls once we've made sure they have been linked. Now when we get to the ankle, we might notice that that kind of shifts because of the object we have linked it to. But let's go ahead and take a look at that. So we'll go ahead and grab all of our leg controls. I'll just double check to make sure that the right side has been taken care of. Going to the right object. Alright, fantastic. So again, with all of these controls selected, let's go in and reset their X form. Alright, so we'll head over to our Utilities tab, and we'll reset. So it looks like everything except for our ankle controls are good to go. But this is not a problem at all. This is very simple to fix. What I'll do is go ahead and collapse these objects. Let's go ahead and get rid of our ankle controls. So I'll go ahead and make sure that we select those FK controls, and we'll just go ahead and remove those objects. And all we need to do here is go ahead and take our new control that has been reset and go ahead and use that as our ankle control. So we can go ahead and clone this object. I'm just cloning the shin control. We can rename it from here, so that's NML ankle FK01. Alright, great. Let's go ahead and make sure that it's tied to our ankle bone. So I'll use Shift A to do that. Great. From there, let's go to our hierarchy panel, choose Effect Object Only, and let's start to adjust this. So with the Move tool set to World, I'll just go ahead and start moving this closer to the character's foot, making sure it's easy to select this control. Feel free to bring back the model to make sure that this control does not intersect. Alright, that's going to work out very well. So now we can go ahead and hide our model again. We'll turn off Effect Object Only, and let's go ahead and clone this over to the right side. I'll just press Control V. Let's go ahead and rename this. NMR Ankle 01. We're just about done. Let's go ahead and use Quick Align to align it to the right side. And now we'll need to relink these controls. So we're linking back to our shin. There's one, and there's two. So of course, after we've done that, we'll want to select all animation controls here and go ahead and freeze their transforms. All of them selected, we can go ahead and Alt-right click and choose Freeze Transform. Feel free to bring down the thickness on these objects. Going to the Modify panel, we could always set the thickness to about 0.5. So let's do that for the others. I'll go ahead and pause the video. Alrighty, so we just have a few more things to do. Let's go ahead and recolor this control on the right side to that light green we've been using. Great. I'd also like to take care of locking down the controllers on these objects. Let's go ahead and move over to our hierarchy panel, go to Link Info. For the FK thigh, we're going to lock down position and scale, but for the others, we're actually only going to lock down scale because we'll be able to translate these controls to stretch our legs. So that's going to be really exciting when we get to that. And we'll get to that very soon. So again, for the ankle and shin controls, we're only locking down scale, but for our FK thigh, we're locking down position and scale. All right, great. So we're now ready to establish our orientation constraints. If we were to go ahead and take our FK thigh control, we'll want to make sure that it drives the FK thigh bone, the original one. So let's go ahead and select the FK thigh bone. We'll alt-right click and grab our orientation constraint, and now we'll tie it to our animation control. Notice there's no shifting because, again, this control's orientation is matched to the bone object. Very nice. So everything's following just fine. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for the shin. We're not going to worry about the ankle just yet. We can take care of that in the following lesson. But let's go ahead and grab the shin, and again, we'll go ahead and orientation constraint. Perfect. We can now test out the control. Let's go ahead and start to move that around. Beautiful. So we just need to do this for the right side. Again, we'll just go ahead and apply our orientation constraint. And that's going to be it for this lesson. Once we're finished with that step, we can go ahead and move on to the next lesson and work on our stretchy control. And we'll also work on setting up the ankles so we can basically wrap up our FK rig and start to finalize the legs by making sure that our IK system stretches as well. And then we'll want to set up our flexi lines. So we just have a few more steps before we're done with the legs. We're making great progress.